Hello everybody, yeah, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the Tarantula Coast playing as the Force of Chaos against the Skaven, and for this build I wanted to try out something a little bit different, or maybe honestly even kind of a throwback to older builds. Traditionally when I go up against Skaven I'm very fond of Chosen heavy builds where you run Chosen, a few Chaos Marauders, Marauder Horsemen. Obviously Frontal is something that's kind of a constant, and as are Chaos Knights. But definitely the front line usually much more heavy duty, supported by sort of javelin throwing horsemen. But I decided to try something different. We're running Forsaken. So for my build here, we are rolling with Sarthoriel, and well, he's great in this matchup. Having fear, terror, very high mass, very difficult to stop for the Skaven, barring their monsters and I guess Doom Flayers. He's got Plague of Rust, which will help my non-AP troops deal with Stormvermin especially, as well as Doom Wheels and units like that. Searing Doom, of course, to nuke blobs of squishy troops if I don't want to waste a Final Transmutation, and Final Transmutation to melt enemy lords, especially if my opponent blobs them up. We also do have Arcane Conduit as well as Standard Die, which will hopefully help my troops stick around longer. Now, alongside him, we do actually have two Exalted Heroes, so we're trying something a little different from the usual fare here. These guys, stripped down completely, have some very beastly melee stats, 65 and 40. That's like Vampire tier. They've got 100 armor, they've got bronze shields. 7-8 speed on their horses here. They look absolutely terrifying. You can see those battle axes, just jagged and terrifying. Charge bonus is surprisingly only 45, which is kind of pitiful. Weapon strength is only 420. It's not AP, but hey, they'll be able to lay a smackdown on enemy lords, tie down, potentially tie down units of artillery or shooting. Generally, in my experience with the Empire matchup, Empire captains are pretty good at assassinating Skaven weapons teams, so figured let's give the Exalted Heroes a shot and see if they can work too. Our front line is composed entirely of Forsaken. Not much to be said for these guys. They should blitz through cheaper Skaven infantry like nothing, and should do an okay job versus most Skaven troops, especially with help from Plague of Rust against Stormmen, because they just hit so very hard on the charge. They've got Frenzy, they've got 64 weapon strength. 60, actually these guys have 64. I'm not entirely sure why they have 64 while the normal one only has 63. I don't know if these guys have a higher base weapon strength. It's 52 and 12 versus 49 and 14. So that's weird. These guys actually have a higher non-AP component, which is kind of sad. But regardless, we will be seeing how fast these Forsaken can blitz through the enemy front line, and hopefully we can get in there before my opponent's artillery shreds them. On the flanks, we do have 2 units of Chaos Warhounds with Poison as well as Knights over here, and the same thing except just 1 unit of Warhounds with Poison on the other. And the idea here is that the Chaos Knight, they've got a lot of mass, they've got a lot of charge bonus, they can dive in, they'll crush units like Rat Ogres, they can cycle charge units like Kelpid Abominations, and with Plague of Rust, they will demolish enemy big Plague Furnace units like that pretty effectively. Now for my opponent here, he has gone with a supremely wide build, and he's got Skrulk, the Filth Rat here, he's got the Liber Mortis, the Rod of Corruption, Stand Your Ground, Vermintide, as well as Aura of Pestilence. Now, interestingly enough, no Lore of Plague passive. This is actually very important because it means my troops won't get exhausted quickly. It's definitely potentially going to be a big lifesaver. His front line is almost, well, honestly, most of my opponent's build here is like Skaven Slaves. This is all just zoning tools. Hordes and hordes of Skaven Slave trash to zone me away. 3 Stormmen with Halberds, including the Regiment of Renown, holding the center. A few Rat Ogres for additional mass, and then a big old pocket of artillery. We've got 2 Plague Claws, which are going to be doing a number of my poor infantry. Warplating Cannon, which is taking pot shots at my Exalted Heroes over there. And we're trying to keep our Chaos Knights a little safe there in the distance. We also do have a Plague Priest who's going to be a pain in the rear. He does have his Plague Furnace. He does have more Rat Summons, so my opponent really looking to saturate me with that trash. And it's definitely not something I'm too thrilled by. Regardless, we are closing the gap very, very quickly over here. You can see the Forsaken are going to plow into the Skaven Slaves and tear them to shreds. Skaven Slaves are not built to withstand this. 0 armor, terrible melee defense. Getting debuffed artillery fire there, actually, and their leadership actually completely buckles and they're out. That is that for Skaven Slaves. They're goners. Chaos Knights here sitting tight, looking pretty. My opponent is starting to the summon spam. You can see Clan Rats being summoned over there. More Clan Rats over here, looking to block me off, and that's not exactly something I'm thrilled by. Trying to sneak my hounds in the back, though. Shut my opponent down though and get in there. Forsaken here, getting bogged down a bit on the Clan Rats. Definitely not great. Over here, we do actually charge straight through the Skaven Slaves and shatter them, and are now looking to surround and get around these Stormmen. Meantime, artillery fire is starting to pound my troops, and it's tough. It's tough trying to blitz through this when your opponent has so much fire just pressuring you. And already our Forsaken are starting to feel the heat. They are going to be losing frenzies. It doesn't seem to be there actually lose frenzy. So definitely rough stuff. Plague Breath there does go down, and things are just not looking great. And more summons are coming down because my opponent just, he's gone for summon spam, and it's definitely going to be a bit cancerous to play against. Forsaken over here are slaying out with the Constant Guard, doing an okay job, to be honest, all things considered. Their high weapon melee attack, of course, will help them greatly. Chaos Knights over here, alongside the Forsaken, shred the Rat Ogres, and it's not even a close fight. The Rat Ogres just get annihilated. Chaos Knights are really amazing at killing squishy Skaven trash. In the back line over here, you can see the Skaven Slave Spears actually get run over by the Hounds as well as the Knights. While over here, the Hounds are bogging down the Stormmen route, the Terror route, because Sorthorel is running amok in the background here. And, chain routing all these troops. The Hounds working on these Stormmen. They're actually completely broken now, and we are able to chase them down, which is important. These are big wins to get rid of all these elite troops. Balance of power still hinging in the mid here. My opponent has a very strong pocket over on this end. If we have removed these Rat Ogres, my Exalted Heroes are now looking to get back into the fray. Unfortunately, the Plague Claw is still very much alive, and the Warblade Cannon, because for some ungodly reason, Skaven artillery leadership is stupidly high. The Warblade Cannon isn't routing. He's just sitting tight here, tanking it and not giving up. Stand your ground goes down, keeping it in the fight for a little bit longer before the Knights finally do run it off, but it definitely took a little too long. So still only trying to shut down the Plague Beast here, walloping him a little bit with his staff, but not doing as much as we'd like. And in the meantime, these guys are getting wrecked by the Blue Death effect, so that's definitely not ideal, losing these Swingmen to be that way. Same thing over here, you can see the Forsaken trying to get into the fight here, just pressuring the backs of these Stormmen, but still my opponent doing a very good job shutting me down, preventing me from shutting down these Plague Claw catapults. Stroke in the meantime, an absolute pain in the posterior, distracting me and disrupting me. Fortunately though, our Hounds are able to run some of these troops off. You can see the Skaven Slaves removed from play, as are these Skaven Slave Slingers, and we still have a very healthy unit of Knights over there. Our Hounds here are going to chase the Stormmen off the field, and Sorthorel is in a duel of his life here, going against the Plague Priest, and using that Plague of Rust to demolish it. Minus 60 armor dropping down to 30 means that the Plague Priest, while he can shunt around Sorthorel, is going to be taking quite a bit of beating every hit. In the meantime, Knights diving in here into this pocket and breaking these Plague Claw catapult. Definitely a valuable play there, but still, it's difficult. I'm not able to really remove my opponent's troops for good, and he still has these Rat Ogres around. He's still got this catapult tool online and bombarding my troops. He doesn't care if he's got friendly fire. All these are summons, they're all expendable. Just doesn't give a damn, so he's just going to waste me as best he can. Knights and the Hounds though coming around from the flank, and in the meantime, Forsaken kind of trickling back in every now and then, getting in there, doing some damage, just kind of bogging my opponent down over here, buying me time against the Stormmen, which is very, very critical. And here in the pits, we are actually starting to see a final transmutation go down, melting my opponent's troops. The Plague Priest there just getting demolished. Skrulk is getting melted as well. He's trapped in there, and he's not having a good time of it. Plague Priest is going to get completely destroyed here. He's almost gone. Our standing ground does go down, but simply put, it's not going to be enough. Skrulk actually dives in there, terror routes him, and he is dead. Dead meat. Unfortunately, the Chaos Knights, though, taking a pounding, and they are starting to buckle. The Chaos Knights pinned in here between summons. Even with their High Master, not going to be able to squeak out. And, you know, they're taking a pounding. This Council Guard are not terrible against Chaos Knights. And although the Council Guard here is taking some friendly fire, it is... You know, the Chaos Knights are starting to feel the heat, and this is not where I want my Chaos Knights at all. I want them out of here. I want them deployed elsewhere and cycle charging. This summon spam is just absolute cancer to play against. It's really why it's incredibly unfun to play against Skaven, but yeah, it's definitely frustrating. Chaos Hounds are rallying in the distance, and we are looking to get back in. Exalted Hero, though, nearly dead, whittled down by a Rod of by a Leader Bonicus there, so Skrulk have an absolute field day. Fortunately, Sorthorel, though, is still an absolute beast and is crushing these Rat Ogres. That said, things looking not so bright everywhere. You can see over here the Stormmen Halberds are very much alive and in very good shape. 6200 HP means it'll be quite the brutal fight. Knights rallying in the distance on 9 models, so definitely bordering on route. We do have some Forsaken trickling back in and looking to smash through the enemy line. Keep in mind that with how many Skaven Slaves my opponent has, a lot of these peripheral troops can and will be mopped up pretty effectively eventually. Fortunately, Sorthorel just knocking the Skrulk around and not able to really punish him properly. So we do dive in here. Rod of Corruption goes down, so we're melting the Hounds, and it's really just a tricky situation. We're not able to get in on Skrulk. Like, we're swinging and missing constantly. He just gets knocked over. Dumb Rat gets bowled over, and we're not able to put him down. We're not able to put him in the dust. You know, 45 melee defense, surprisingly holding well. We do get a cycle charge, and look at that. He just gets punted and doesn't take any damage. So, very frustrating. Knights, though, are coming in from the flank looking to crush these Skaven slaves. And we are sort of cleaning up his peripheral troops. Forsaken here diving in, 17 models left, almost no HP, but they will get in. And, you know, they're going to do some damage. They hit like trucks, so in the brief little moments they get before they rout from pressure there, they will do quite a bit of work. So we'll throw in the Exalted Hero in the meantime, trying to escape, trying to get in on Lord Skrulk as well, and potentially stomp him. but it's definitely not a great situation. In the meantime, the Knights here are going to be sort of charging past, getting in on the artillery crew. Hounds getting in there as well, shutting down the Skaven Slave Slingers. And this is going to be a big win, able to shut down this artillery. You know, being able to pressure up, at this point it's a lot about balance of power. Balance of power is in my favor now, but not quite decisively. And if I can remove these last few, these peripheral troops from my opponent's army, if I can rout them, Force the Fear from the Chaos Knights here helping immensely. If I can remove these Skaven Slaves, these Clan Rats, or these Blade Claws, my opponent's balance of power is going to start swinging out in his favor. So in the meantime, of course, Frontal starts cycling away, staying clear of the main engagement. As we do clean up in Isle 9, over here the Exalted Hero and the Warhounds are pursuing these Skaven Slaves. I want to start swinging this balance of power way in my favor, so then when the decisive time comes, I can force a very quick rout. Skrulk is down to 1200 HP. So Thoril is really the main thing right now, holding my army together at 3000 HP. He's very, very survivable still. Exalted Hero at okay, 2300. But we will be looking to engage soon. You can see the Hounds here actually disengaged. I don't want them getting caught. At this point, I want every unit possible still intact. And yeah, so we're going to do some cleanup in Isle 9 here, throwing things into fast forward a little bit as we mop up some of this Skaven filth. Sarthoril does dive in, plowing through the horde of trash to get in on Skrulk. Hit lands a meaty hit there, dropping him by about 400 HP, and lots of power shifting decisively in my favor now. We were able to punt him away. Now, the thing is, Stormmen here, they could still secure the win. If Skrulk survives, Stormmen could be what it takes. And so Sarthoril then does plow through, looking to get those meaty connections in on the Filth Rat, just knocking them all over. But unfortunately, not able to land those decisive hits to do a lot of damage to him. Skrulk is just kind of tanking it and doesn't give a damn. Stand your ground, helping him out immensely there. The Exalted Hero trying to get in, but fortunately we are able to sort of stick away, at least for a little bit. Clan Rats do looking to shift towards Skrulk, but I think the Exalted Hero punts Skrulk, does quite a bit of damage. And you can see here, Skrulk is actually popping his Rod of Corruption, which is going to do very little here, and means that when these Forsaken come in, when these Hounds come in, they're actually going to be in a very good spot, because my opponent won't have that sudden burst of damage to knock him off. In the meantime, Final Transmutation does go down, and that is going to annihilate Skrulk. Stormmen are going to drop to 29 leadership. These Clan Rats are completely screwed. And at this point, we're suddenly in a good spot. We're going to drop a Serum Doom here with some of our remaining ones of magic. Rout Stormmen, and at this point, my opponent's army does shatter, leaving only the Council Guard, and he chooses to GG out of the game. So a very brutal back-and-forth fight, and really an interesting sort of attempt with these Forces of Chaos. Now, to be quite honest, was it a smart build? I don't really think so. The Forsaken were okay. The Exalted Champions, though, or the Exalted Heroes, definitely felt a bit underwhelming. I felt like I could have brought, essentially, more Marauder Horsemen. I could have brought like 3 or 4 Marauder Horsemen for the price of these Exalted Heroes, and potentially gotten much better value out of that against my opponent's build. I would have been able to kite him much more effectively, whittle down these cheaper troops, dive in there, wipe out the artillery with the big stuff, and then deal with everything else later with sort of javelin pokes. The other heroes did okay. They sort of anchored the line at a few spots, but ultimately they just didn't really deliver the kill count. And there's not really much of a way to improve that situation. Obviously, if my opponent had brought Jazils, maybe they would have had a little more of a shining moment, but my opponent didn't, so it didn't matter. That said, the Chaos Knights did an amazing job as always. Honestly, the Forsaken ran shop, as did most of the Hounds, except the one unit that routed very, very quickly. So definitely some fun stuff. My opponent's build, definitely a frustrating composition to play against. The only real downside to it, in my opinion, besides the fact that I think, honestly, maybe you should be better off without artillery and bringing the weapons teams, would have been that, honestly, Skrulk, bring your Lord of the Plague passive. It debuffs enemy vigor by an immense amount. It's minus 9%. It's pretty insane. It stacks quickly. With just spamming summons, you exhaust your opponent super quickly, and that can swing the entire tide of battle in your favor. Makes it much more difficult to cycle charges through soil and that sort of thing. But regardless, well played to my opponent here. Definitely was a pretty unfun game, to be honest, but was definitely exciting to sort of be able to scrape it back in the end and make use of those Chaos Knights of Thoril with his nukes and that sort of thing. So, well played. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it fun and entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, criticism, questions, don't hesitate to put them down below. I will respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.